Shootings.
Hate crime.
Hate crime.
Hate crime.
Killings.
A mass killer.
Mass murderer.
Charleston church murders.
Massacre.
Massacre.
A massacre. Massacre.
An assassination.
The gunman.
The gunman.
Loner.
This is how the media reported about Dylann Roof shooting dead 9 African-American churchgoers at the Emanuel AME Church in 2015.
Terrorist attack. Terror attack.
Terror attack.
Deadliest terror attack in this city since 9/11.
An act of terror, the definition of terrorism.
Path of terror.
Terror ties.
And this is how the media reported about Sayfullo Saipov, who drove a rented pickup truck into cyclists and runners in New York City in 2017, killing 8 and injuring 12. Both attacks meet the definition of terrorism perfectly. They were acts of violence committed for a political or ideological purpose. Dylann Roof was shouting, "You rape our women and are taking over our country," as he gunned down 9 black churchgoers. The police later discovered his manifesto in which he called for a race war. His political ideology is clear. Sayfullo Saipov was shouting Allahu Akbar while he was on a killing spree. A note in his pickup truck was found that read, "The Islamic State will endure forever." His political ideology is also clear. So why is one labeled a terrorist and the other a gunman? Both killed a large number of people. Both did it to further a political ideology. The only real difference is that one is a Muslim and the other is a Christian. Beyond the labeling issue, there are 3 major differences in the reporting of Muslim versus Christian terrorists. The first major difference is that mental health is only brought up when it comes to white Christian terrorists. Fox News aired a whole segment entitled, "What Was Going On in the Head of Dylann Roof?"
So what was going on in the head of Dylann Roof? Joining us right now is forensic psychiatrist Dr. Michael Wellner.
The mass killer is an irrelevant person who's failed and has high expectations, but someone who is looking for relevance. And he knows that if we have this national dialogue, ultimately we're talking about him.
Looks like Adam Kleinbold of Columbine. He looks like Adam Lanza in Connecticut. He looks like James Holmes, that empty look in their eye. They look sallow, they look pale, they look like something's wrong.
But it wasn't just Fox News. The New York Times reported extensively on his psychiatric evaluation, including his poor working memory and that he had trouble processing multiple sources of information. Now, this is not to say that Dylann Roof and other white Christian terrorists don't have mental health issues. They probably do. In fact, one study found that 40% of lone wolf domestic terrorists had a history of mental illness. So mental health and terrorism are clearly connected. But when a Muslim terrorist commits violence, there is absolutely no attention given to mental health, and the immediate blame goes to religion. The second major difference in reporting is that white Christian terrorists receive backstories that humanize them, whereas Muslim terrorists are thought to have no life apart from their religion. The Washington Post called Dylann Roof an often silent, awkward housemate who liked to watch Oprah during the day and loved sappy movies such as Titanic and Stand By Me. At the same time, the New York truck attacker Sayfullo Saipov received almost no backstory apart from the fact that he was an Uzbek immigrant. Rather than being humanized, he was so dehumanized that Trump literally called him an animal.
This animal who did the attacking.
The third major difference in reporting between Christian and Muslim terrorists is the attention given to family members of the attacker.
Dylann Roof's family just released a statement saying, "We will always love Dylann, but we will struggle as long as we live to understand why he committed this horrible attack."
Charleston County Magistrate James Gosnell even said, "We have victims, 9 of them, but we also have victims on the other side. There are victims on this young man's side of the family. No one would have ever thrown them into the whirlwind of events that they have been thrown into."
We must find it in our heart at some point in time, not only to help those that are victims, but to also help his family as well.
At the same time, after Sayfullo Saipov killed 8 people in New York City, there was close to zero attention paid to his family. No family member of his was interviewed. There was no magistrate empathizing with the pain that his family must have felt. The only time his family was even mentioned was in the reporting that Saipov had brought at least 22 family members to also live in the US.
This man that came in, or whatever you want to call him, brought in with him other people.
This claim was later proven false by fact-checking organizations. So when a white terrorist kills people, news coverage focuses on mental health, a humanizing backstory, and the grieving family. The attacker is called a shooter, a loner, a gunman, a killer, pretty much anything but a terrorist. When a Muslim terrorist kills people, news coverage focuses on the individual's religion and immigration background, and the attacker is immediately called a terrorist. So what is the effect of this biased reporting of Muslim versus Christian terrorists on people's perception? The American Muslim Institute found that 2 in 5 Americans say Islam is incompatible with US values. It also found that more than half of Americans were concerned about extremism spreading within the Muslim community. These concerns seem quite unfounded considering the fact that radical Islamists only carry out 13% of terror attacks in the US. Thank you for watching Sankara Media, and stay tuned for our weekly short docs on topics of global social justice.